So this is a quick video tutorial on how to review a project as an SRC member. In this specific case, I will be logging in as an SRC chair. So we go to Scienteer.com and up in the top right hand corner click login, put in our credentials and we'll log in. If you've got more than one role, you need to make sure that you find the correct role over here on the left hand side under role chooser. I'm going to choose SRC member for AAA high school. That's going to be the test school where we're going to demo the review screen. If you just have one role as an SRC member, when you log in you'll come straight to this page. We want to make sure we're on the right school or the right fair and that we're reviewing as the right role. On the left I see it says require review in red, and on the right I see it says reviewed in green. So in the red column, these are projects that are waiting for review. Right now I've only got one waiting for review, and once I review it and approve it, it'll move over to the reviewed side. So to review the one project that's waiting on me, I'll go up here to click more info. I'll find the project in my list. In this case my list only has one project. I can see the project ID here, the title of the project, and the review status of the project. Now this project had been sent back for revisions before and the student had made the corrections and now is resubmitted to the SRC, so I'm going to review this one again. To review the project, we simply click review project and it takes us to our project review screen. Now at any time if something comes up or I need to abort the review, over here on the left hand side I can always go back to my current dashboard or go back to my home page to abort the review. So if I look up here under project overview, on the top left hand side I have the title of the project, the student's name, the category, the start date of the project, the project ID. It's kind of good to look at these IDs. If you find an issue with a project, you need to discuss it. If you write down the ID or copy and paste it into an email, it'll help you to communicate exactly which project it was that you were experiencing issues with or had questions with. We have the teacher's email right here. If you need to email the teacher to contact the teacher for any reason, you can do so right here. And under that we have the review status. I can click for the history of this project and look at all of the reviews that it's had so far, including the teachers and their comments. So if I click review history, it takes me to a whole list of review, starting from the last review that was done at top and going all the way back down to the first review. So I can see that the teacher here has done several reviews and asked the form to do things and added some forms to the projects and things like that. The last review was done by me. I sent it back, added a project form 3 and sent it back, and now he's resubmitted it. So that's what we're going to review for. So this is just the history. This is here for your information. It's useful if you've sent a project back for revision. And you look at the history and you see what you asked for corrections the first time, you can double check it. So then I go back up here to the blue button that says previous page. It takes me back to the review screen. Now right below that is a big blue button that says select form for review. This view pane down here where it says paper version shows us the current form that we are on, and right now by default it's on the research plan. If I want to view a different form, I will select it from the blue button. It pulls up my menu on the right hand side and I can select one of the other forms that I would like to review. So let's look at the checklist for adult sponsor. If I click that, it will bring it up in my review pane. And when I scroll down, I can see the check boxes and the teacher signature and those kind of things. So each time that we select a form for review, we may or may not have some questions that we can address. This is the form 3 I've selected, and over here the questions are related to the same questions for my comments on the left hand side. So if I scroll down, I can see the question that the student had to answer, and I see their answer here in blue. It is also reflected here. The student answer will be reflected over here on the left hand side. So when I select a form, the actual form will fill this pane and the questions on that form will fill this pane. I'm going to go back to the research plan right quick. I'm going to move down here. Now we're viewing the research plan. So I've got the paper version on the right hand side, and I've got the questions in my comment field input on the left hand side. All research plans are going to be structured the same. You're going to have your basic parts of the research plan. Then you're going to have your extra form section, hazardous biological agents or materials, activities, and devices, or human subjects, or whatever pertains to this project. And then you'll have the bibliography. So as I go through there, I can see that the questions over here match the questions on the paper form. So right now I'm looking at the rationale, and there's the student answer. Here's the rationale, and here would be the student's answer. We've just typed in some gobbledygook there to get through the questions, so it doesn't really make any sense. If I find something wrong with one of these questions, I want to mark it and ask for revision, and I'll make a comment on it. I'll tell them to fix the rationale. We don't need to tell them where to go to fix it or how to fix it, what step to go to. The system will automatically guide them to fix it, but we just need you to put your comment on what's wrong with it. Once you've entered your comment, you need to click the submit button. Each comment will be submitted individually. So if I need a comment on another section, say the materials section, I'll add the comment there, and I'll want to then submit that. Now this does not submit the form back to the student for revision yet. It's just recording my answers at the moment. So when we're done with that form, we may want to look at another form. Let's say the risk assessment form 3, and we may want to do the same thing. We'll say the student here didn't address the safety concerns maybe like they should have, so I'm going to ask for a revision. Fix safety info, and we'll submit that. Once we've made a comment somewhere, we're no longer able to approve the project over here. We're going to have to send it back for corrections. So if you've made a comment and decided you really don't want to send it back for corrections, that you're okay with approving it, we can always go back down, and with the little red box can delete our comments. So we go back to the forms and delete the comments where we've left comments. After we delete the comment, we'll put submit or update the comment. I'm going to go back to the research plan because I left some comments there. Let's remove those comments. Remove those comments. So I think I've gotten all of my comments removed there. Submit. Once I've removed all my comments, then I'm allowed to approve the project if I want to. So anytime you leave a comment, it's not going to let you approve it. It's going to assume that something needs to be fixed. So if you want to approve a project, either don't submit any comments, or you'll have to go back and delete those comments before it will let you approve the comments. Now if you notice, some forms don't have any comment boxes. Let's just look at a form like the approval form 1B. This is the one that we will be signing as an SRC. This is a prior approval, and my signature will be going here. But if you notice over on the left hand side of the form 1B, there's no comment boxes. I can't make any comments on this form because the student can't really correct this form. Okay, so if I find a form that doesn't allow me to create a comment, that means that either we need to find it through another action here up at the top, or we can find it many times in the research plan under a special section. So with the form 1B, there really should be no issues. If there's any issues with that form, it's not the student's fault. That means there's a technical glitch and we need to fix it, and that should be reported to support. Now, if I let me select the student checklist 1A. Here's a good example of a form that has a lot of information on it that might be messed up, but I don't have any comment boxes here. So what we need to do here, let's say we don't like the student's start date. There's something wrong with that. We won't find it over here to comment on. we have a special flag for some of those things, like the project title or the project category, project start date. So if I wanted to leave a comment and tell them to fix their start date, I would do that through these global actions up top. The same thing with the bibliography. If I'm reviewing the research plan, I don't have any option on the research plan to mark a comment for the bibliography. I need to do that through my special action button, and this will flag the bibliography section itself if I click that. Basically, if I click it, I get a little comment box. I'll type my comment and click Save Changes. So I'm not going to ask for revision on this project again. We're going to assume that the student corrected it, and I'm ready to approve it. And when I go to approve the project, it'll ask me for the approval date. Now, if this is a human participant study, it's going to ask me some more questions before I approve it. It's going to give a result of the answers from the IRB and ask me if I agree with the IRB, and I'll need to choose those answers. But for this particular set of forms, I don't have any extra questions that I really need to answer. So I would just select my date, and it needs to be before the start date. If I try to put a date afterwards, it's not going to let me approve it. Let me just look at the form 6A. This is an interesting form. I'm going to scroll down here and look at the 6A. So if you notice down here on the 6A, to be completed by local or affiliate fair SRC, this is where I'm going to be signing on the 6A, and wherever this X is where I'm going to be signing. So we need to make sure we're okay with that. In this particular case, the SRC has carefully studied the project research plan, and it was done properly in a BSL-2 laboratory, and we're given prior approval for it. If that is not the case, there's no place over here for me to check a different box. If that's the case, that means the student has, if this is not correct, the student has selected the wrong BSL level. So if this is a BSL-1 project, we need to ask the student to revise that, and we would do that over here. Whenever we accept it and sign it, it'll put our date in the appropriate place and our signatures at the bottom of this form as well. Now the question may come up. Let's go look at the Form 1 checklist for adult sponsor. If we notice, we can't make comments on this form, but I'm looking at the check boxes here, and I've determined this project requires human subject form, but there's no check here. That means that the student has not added that to their project. So we can send this back and make the student do that by using one of our action tools up here above. So if I go to select form for review, you'll notice there's no form 4 here. That's why it's not checked. So in order for that checkbox to be correct, we've got to get the project correct. And the only way to do that is then to go over here and say we need to add a form to this project. So if I click add forms, I have a list of forms which I can add to the project. These, if I select the human subject form, it's going to send the student back to the survey to re-answer the questions properly and add that form to their project and get the signatures for that form. Same thing with these other forms. It will add the form to the project and then send them back to those steps. If I see a form on here which the student doesn't really need, sometimes the student has a risk form 3 maybe and they don't really need one, we can also remove that from the project. So if I click remove forms, it'll ask me which of those forms do I want to remove, and there's only certain ones it will allow me to remove. I can't remove anything required for the project like a form 1B or something like that, but in this case I would say let's remove the risk assessment form 3. When we do that, it will remove the form from the project. It will still let me allow me to approve the project, and the project will continue on without the form 3. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this project and get a date that's before the start date, and I click approve. Once the review status has been updated, the student will be notified. We can close that. And now I don't have any more projects in my list. That was the only one. So I can go back to my dashboard, and I can see how it's moved from requiring review over to being reviewed. On the student's webpage, when he checks his SRC status, it will say your project's been approved, and it will let him go on to the next step. Now, if you've submitted it and approved it and decide later maybe you shouldn't have, or you reviewed it fairly quickly and thought something came across your mind and say, oops, I need to pull that back, there was something wrong with it, you can always go over here to your reviewed section and reopen the project. So it says here approved by chair, but if I reopen it, I can re-review it. So if I click review project, it takes me back, and then I can say, I can give the comments on the corrections that I needed. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. This project has been reviewed. And that concludes the brief tutorial on SRC review.